Well, hi, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. Welcome to our March webcast, our Bosscast, called Flexing Your Leadership Style for Success. We're so excited to welcome Yewande Konigbagbe, founder of Meet Your COO, to join us. Yewande is an accomplished builder of customer and employee experiences supporting iconic global brands, including Cheerios, Yoplait, Skittles. She's helped billion-dollar brands be more productive, generated millions in sales for market leaders such as Walmart and 7-Eleven, and delivered award-winning experiences for both nonprofit and for-profit organizations. Inspired by the social justice reckoning of 2020, Yewande redirected her 18 years of operations experience to reverse the trend of BIPOC-owned businesses being disproportionately affected in times of economic crisis. Launching Meet Your COO in August 2021, Yewande provides fractional chief operating officer support to a growing community of BIPOC-owned businesses that seek to both fortify and transform their futures. Leveraging her know-how in right-sizing best practices from billion-dollar industries, she supports small yet growing businesses clarify their intentions, simplify their operations, and activate memorable experiences for their customers. As a Midwest native who calls both Chicago and Minneapolis home, Yewande is a lover of good hearty meals, a campfire under the stars, an easy entry to some of the best music venues the US has to offer. In pre-pandemic times, you could find her on a plane every couple months visiting friends and family across the US, or adding stamps to her passport in hopes of visiting 2 new countries each year. Just very impressive, and you'll get to know her in the next few minutes. So we're really excited to have you join Yewande. Just a quick admin note: if you'd like to ask a question, there'll be opportunity towards the end. You can raise your hand, or you can type your question in the chat to prepare. So, Yewande, I'll give you the floor.
Awesome. Hello, ladies. I am thrilled to have the opportunity to talk with you all. I am very, very informal and very casual. So like, if you want to raise your hand, throw something in the chat. Hopefully I won't talk like ad nauseum. I hope I timed it right. It's about maybe 20 some minutes of talking, and then we can just kind of have some Q&A and stuff. But I brought some slides. I know a lot of us are visual learners, and so hopefully that can help. So flexing your leadership style is something that I'm like super passionate about. And it's funny because in my career, I actively like avoided managing people and leading others. I really enjoyed being an individual contributor. And when I was kind of tapped on the shoulder to say, hey, are you interested in managing a team or leading a team? I actually said no to 2 opportunities at one of my employers. I was like, no, I'm not ready. It's too much. It's too much responsibility. I can't even, I'm too hard on myself. How could I be like that towards others? And so, but there was one opportunity where I actually said yes to, and I'm so glad I did, because it really helped me like grow as a leader. And so before I go into all that, I'll just do like a short intro on who am I, if that makes sense. And so I have been leading global project teams for like 11 years. I love leading global projects. I've been very fortunate to work for 2 large global Fortune 500 companies where I had the opportunity to lead global project teams. And that's kind of my sweet spot, is running large projects. I consider myself a project leader versus a project manager, meaning usually as a leader, I would like to actually own the resources executing the project. People would report directly into me, things of that nature. I had 6 years of managing people, like having direct reports. And those folks range from being third-party brokers when I was managing a sales organization, to managing contractors, which I've managed a total of 50 contractors on one project at one point in time, and then having direct reports, right? So employees that worked for the same company as me. And through my leadership journey, there's 2 trainings that I think have been like super instrumental to me, that I was fortunate to, work for large Fortune 500 companies. And so they had these built into their curriculum. But in case you don't, if you're going to ask for something to kind of really step up your game in terms of leading others or leading up or managing messages upwards as well, I would say Ken Blanchard's Situational Leadership, I think they call it SL2 right now, is amazing. And I'll talk to you, what I'm going to summarize here is about that. And then pro-side change management is also a game changer when it comes to like, how do you create really effective messages as a leader, right? So I would recommend that as well. And like Michelle mentioned, 3 things I'm like obsessed with when it comes to work is like making sure that we have clear intentions. How do we do that? How do we create a strategic plan that works? Simplifying how we do things through operations. And then of course, I'm super customer first. Everyone that has ever worked with me knows that if the customer doesn't want it, I'm not doing it. So activating memorable customer experiences is my third. And so, yeah, so that's a little bit about me in general. And then I'll talk about how I've kind of flexed my leadership style through my career to benefit myself, but also more importantly, benefit my team. So when it comes to like situational leadership, which is that program I told you about through the Ken Blanchard Institute, I actually got into this program when I first started managing people, when I moved from Chicago to New York to run a sales organization. I was running the retail sales organization for New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, selling like Wrigley gum, Starburst, Skittles, Mars, Snickers, like the entire gum and candy set for the Mars Incorporation over on the East Coast. And this was my first time leading people, my first time managing others. I had managed teams, but I hadn't had direct reports responsible to me. And I also had a revenue target of, I think, like 7.2 million annually. So it was like a big deal for me. But I was like super scared. I was scared about like, how was I going to manage this team of not only like I had 5 sales reps directly reporting into me, but I also had 36 brokers who ran the New York City market, right? So I had to influence a broker team as well as my direct team. And I went into a training around leadership development, and they showed me the situational leadership, about how do you move from directing to coaching to supporting to delegating, right? And so this was like a game changer, because at first I thought like, okay, my approach is I like to do things this way and that way and this way. And when I got into this program, they were like, who cares what you like to do? It's all about what does your team need and how you show up for your team and when you show up for your team, right? So situational leadership breaks down when to actually flex your style to meet the need of your team, right? Of your team member. And it's not person focused, it's very task focused. So I'll give you like examples of what that means in a bit. So it's broken up into these 4 parts. So this diagram might look a little confusing, but once you see it a couple times, it just sinks in. And you can just Google situational leadership and you'll see like 1,000 versions of this image. Because the Ken Blanchard developed this, I think, in like 1985. It's a tried and true type of approach, but the way you apply it is what differs person by person by person. And so what the first thing that you'll see in this diagram is like the actual chart. This chart applies to who your team member is. So are they needing directing behaviors? Are they needing supporting behaviors? And at the bottom where you see these arrows going across, that's like what you do. Are you developing, or are you developing someone who needs a lot of support, or are they already developed, right? So that gives you a guide of where you're at. So when you see S1, S2, S3, S4, that refers to the person. And when you say D1, D2, D3, D4, that refers to what you are doing, right? And so, oh, sorry, the reverse. Excuse me, that's reverse. S1, S2, S3, S4 refers to your style. And then D1 through D4 refers to like where that person is at. My apologies. And so if you're thinking about like, I have a team member that's coming to me, I need some support. They are directing, or they're saying things like, I'm super excited for this new opportunity. So they're like onboarding, right? Or you've just given a person that's already on your team a new task, right? And they just don't know what to do. That's when you are really in directing mode. And typically it's like when someone's onboarding to something brand new or to a new role. And when it comes to directing, it means exactly what it means. You're directing them. You're not asking for their thoughts and ideas of how to do something. You're telling them exactly how to get it done, right? Coaching is when someone has done something once, twice, maybe, but they don't have confidence in their approach, right? So you need to be super inquisitive about, do they understand what they need to do? Do they get what the outcome should be? Do they get the steps that they need to take, right? And that goes through coaching. And then supporting is when someone has kind of, they've done it a few times, but the context of the situation may be changing. So say they're responsible for um, they're responsible for like a website rollout, right? Maybe they've done this a couple times with one organization and now they need to do it for a completely different organization. Or say they're responsible for selling in a convenience store, but now they need to go sell at Walmart, right? Like it's a completely different context, so they need support, right? And then delegating is when they have had different contexts, they've done it time and time and again, and they feel like they got this under control, under lock, and they've proven to you through results that they're great. And so they can now delegate. And they often will come to you saying, hey, we can improve this by doing this and this and this, right? They're like your ideas people. That's when you know that they've switched over to delegate. And so depending on what stage that they are in, determines what your style will be. And so I can give like a couple of examples of how to switch from directing to coaching, supporting, delegating. But a big piece to note is that one person, depending on how many objectives they have, could be at different stages based on the objective, right? So you can have one person that for one task, they're totally delegating, but for another task, you need to kind of handhold them through. And so you're more in a directive type of mode, right? So it's not about the person, it's about the task. And that's why we call this flexing your leadership style, because you'll need to flex with the individual as well as across the team. Hope that makes sense. But I'll give you some examples so you can see. So the first leadership style around directing, right? So I have onboarded dozens and dozens of people to different teams that I've been on, whether they're a project team or whether they are a permanent team, right? That's focused on ongoing deliverables. And I cannot stress enough that the onboarding process is like the most important process, hands down, right? It is, again, like people talk about the first 90 days. I am a true believer that if you don't spend the time as a leader with that person that first 90 days, you are setting them up to fail. And so in order to onboard with speed and with care, you as the leader have to be super, super intentional on the time that you're spending with that person. You have to be super intentional on the documentation you're providing that person. You have to be really intentional on the expectations you're setting for that person. And it's good to share like what you expect them to do, but equally as good to share what you expect them not to do, right? So how do you have two sides of the same coin? That comes all around directing, right? So documentation, frequency of meetings, especially if I'm having someone who's like new to role, new to function, even new to company, we're meeting weekly, hands down. You know what I mean? But if you just have someone who's been with the company for a long time, has been within your function, maybe it's sales or HR for a long time, but it's just new to this role, you might want to meet every other week so you don't like smother them. You know what I mean? But it's important to be intentional about the frequency by which you meet. And then the other piece is you have to be very clear on your expectations and step by step how you expect them to execute that specific task that might be completely new to them. So never feel, and my associates who I've had lots of associates who have been new, meaning new to company, new to function, new to role. And they've always appreciated the more documentation, the more communication, the better in those first early times while they're practicing what they're doing, you know? So sometimes for you as a line manager, it can, or as a leader, it can feel like, am I being too much? Usually they love it. So as you're having your weekly check-ins, just make sure you're checking in on that fact. When someone is coaching, it's coaching for performance, right? this is the part that's probably the most uncomfortable for managers, because sometimes you want to just tell them what to do, but you don't get them from coaching to delegating without this step. And that is like being really relentless at asking questions, right? And sometimes you may have heard an idiom like coaching is questioning. You see that with like business coaches, life coaches, therapists, they just ask a ton of questions, right? Because what you're trying to do is unlock in them an understanding. Do they understand what they're supposed to do? Do they understand the expectations? Do they understand the outcomes? And if they understand it, then they can feel more confident in actually getting to the expected result, right? So questions you might ask is like, what is our expected outcome? What steps did you follow? What worked well? What didn't work well? What was challenging? What could we do better next time, right? Like, so asking those open-ended questions is really important in that coaching phase, because you want them to get away from asking you for permission to being more like thoughtful and more critical in their thinking about how to go about this task. So someone who's moving from coaching to supporting is an example I have is I have a person who I worked with named Renata, who was one of my favorite people. She was on the Poland team. I was really impressed with her, and I slowly recruited her to join my team. And when she came on my team, she was already running a couple projects. Like one of the project was she was like deploying e-signature across all of Europe, and so that was now my team's responsibility to do globally. And so she had done it already for I think Poland and Germany at the time, and now she needed to like take that and scale it across the globe, right? Like, how do we bring e-signatures to everybody? And so I had to get her into that. I was in that supporting phase with her where she just didn't understand the context in other countries, right? Like China has certain legal regulations where only certain vendors can do it. US had certain um, uh, not legal regulations, but certain specifics in terms of what type of signatures were available. And so she was going through all of these like challenges with different people, trying to figure out how to do something that she had already done, right? So I had to just really support her. I had to help remove roadblocks for her by connecting with people that she had not yet connected with before, do introductions, really talk up about the work that she had done previously, and just be like that source of support so she can continue to build her confidence in other situations, right? So supporting is not doing the work, right? Renata was very skilled at doing it. It's more, how do you create the environment by which she can succeed in this different context, right? So that's what supporting looks like. And delegating is someone who has been there, done that, right? They've done it in different contexts. They've done it in, in different scenarios, and they feel very capable of taking on any new challenge. And so another member of my team, Callie, it was actually the same team. She was just really, really good at deploying continuous improvement. Continuous improvement is just a philosophy of how to simplify your work and manage processes. She was fantastic at it. And so she deployed that in the Americas, Latin America, North America. And now I was asking her to go do that in Europe, right? So it was very easy for me to do that with her, even though it was a new context. She already had worked with the Europe team for different projects, and she was very capable of just starting in that direction. So I just delegated it to her. And then she had meetings with me, like she scheduled meetings with me whenever she needed some advice or challenge. And a big thing I did with her was like, I made sure that everyone knew that she was the expert, right? I gave her that recognition. I celebrated her successes. I was like her biggest cheerleader at showing like other people that this was an area of expertise for her. And that got her visibility, not only within our function, but with other functions would come to her for support and help and tips, and which helped her career. And so that's why when you go from directing to coaching, supporting, and delegating, it's really about the task at hand. It's not about the person in general, right? So while Callie was great at deploying continuous improvement, she was not so great at converting like action into measurement, right? So she needed a lot of help with like, how do I show the results in a measurable, quantifiable way, right? So we had like very intensive one-on-ones just about that, where I would just walk her through step by step how to convert a project she had done to like an ROI. Right? So that's just an example of how one person, you can't use the same leadership style for every single task or every single objective that they have. Right? And so I have a couple like pro tips, if you will, and then we can kind of open the conversation up to everyone to talk about different leadership styles in different contexts. The first thing, which I said a couple times, is focus on the task, not on the person. One person needs a different style for different tasks, right? And then the second is how to kind of bring it into your daily work is really important. So when you start learning about situational leadership, say you take the training, or there's probably something on YouTube that walks you through it without having to pay thousands of dollars. It's really critical that you start to seed the language into how you do things. So like what I did is my one-on-one agendas, I manage them through like different things, whether it's like Microsoft Teams or OneNote. I just always had an agenda for my one-on-ones. And I started every objective with whether they needed direction, coaching, support, or delegating, right? So each of my team members usually has somewhere between like 3 to 6 objectives. And so for each objective, I always marked on there what stage they were at, right? So I knew how to like approach them about this specific topic or task. And I think that's really important because you're flexing your style. It's not easy, right? It doesn't come without a trigger. You need something to trigger you to actually change your style, because not only are you doing a bunch of stuff, but when it comes time for that one-on-one meeting, you need to know where your coworker is at, right? Or where your employee is at. Are they needing direction? Are they needing coaching? Are they needing support? Or can you delegate? And when it comes to the different styles, be very, very clear when you're directing. There's nothing worse than a manager who doesn't set clear expectations for their team, right? I've seen it many, many times. Some managers might assume that because you come with these years of experience, you should just be able to walk into a different context and be successful. That is not always the case, right? We typically hire for potential. We don't hire for performance, right? So you have to be very clear when you're directing someone on a new task. Write it down, talk about what they should do and what they should not do, right? Believe me, it will be appreciated. When coaching, be very inquisitive, be questions first. Really, this is the hardest thing for me to do, is to hold back from giving them advice, right? Just ask questions, help them unlock it for themselves. And then when it comes to being supporting, motivate, right? That's how when you get to know your people, you get to know what motivates them and what gets them going, right? So that's when you pull those levers, is when they're in the supporting phase. And then of course, delegating, be incredibly appreciative, shout their praises, find out what types of recognition they really, really like, and be intentional about showing that recognition visibly up and across and with their team members. So those are like my little pro tips on how to flex your leadership style. I would say the most important one is you have to embed it in your style of leading, right? How I did it is because I'm very meticulous with my one-on-one agendas. And so I added it there, and it was just in front of my face all the time. And so it helped. Yeah, so I hope that didn't go on 20 minutes, great. So love to open up for questions. I could talk about all sorts of different styles and approaches, give you all sorts of examples. Yeah, I'll hand it back to you, to Michelle.
Sorry about that. Thank you so much, Yewande. That's great information. And I can't agree more. And I want to give a little bit of plug to Bosstrack too, with training. Not that it's exactly what you're talking about, but we do in all of our courses touch on probably each one of these. And but anyway, I wanted to ask you a few questions. I have a few questions for you. One is, in your bio, you talk about a bullet train between Tokyo and Kyoto and how it landed you 2 promotions in 3 years. And I'm curious to know the answer to that.
Oh, yeah. So I love travel. I'm a big, I was a big traveler. I haven't been on a plane in like years, which is like scary. But yeah, I used to have like crazy status. I lost all my status, which is like hugely disappointing to me. And when I went to Japan, which is like one of my favorite places in the world, and went to Tokyo with my brother, and we were there for like 10 days, and I wanted to see, Mount Fuji. I wanted to go to Kyoto. I wanted to do a whole bunch of stuff. So I tend to like journal when I travel. That's like the time when I get like the most like clarity, getting away from everything and just journaling. So I was journaling, and I was working in that sales job I was telling you guys about when I was running the New York, East Coast market. And I was at the place where I knew that that was coming to an end, right? I wasn't getting like that like excitement about that job anymore. So I was like, what do I do next? And I knew it wasn't going to be sales because I had been in sales forever. And I just I didn't want to do the track of a sales director and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, what would be the right function for me? Where can I like call home? And so I just started like journaling on this train, and I was like, okay, what are 3 things that I like? And I love strategic work. I need to work on something that's not just like this quarter goal. That was the thing that I didn't like the most about my sales jobs. I was so focused on the quarterly objective that I couldn't see like further ahead. So I wanted a strategic job. I also wanted something that was going to be cross-functional. I get bored easily, so I need to be like stimulated by different like opinions and point of views and different roles. So I wanted a cross-functional gig. And then I wanted to like continue developing talent. I really enjoyed like being having line manager responsibility and managing teams. So I wanted those 3 things. And so I thought, like, what function has those 3 things in general? And HR like literally sprang to my mind as I'm like looking at the train. I'm like, maybe human resources. I had never ever thought about HR prior to this train ride ever. And so I was like, okay, let me see what that looks like. So within like 45 days of that train ride, I saw a posting for a job that was about global service and operations manager. I was like, whoa, what's this? I read the job description. It looks like something I could do. I had previous experience in a few of those areas, so not all of them, right? So they typically say that like a job description, if you can fill 70% of it, you should probably apply for it, right? You don't have to be perfect at 100% of everything. So I felt like I could fill 70% of it. And so I applied, had an informational interview with the manager, because she's like, who's this sales chick coming over to HR? And we hit it off really well, and I got the job. And that was a new job for that function. It was like the first of its kind, I guess. And so I was able to shape it into something that worked well. And then I was able to see opportunity within the HR organization. So I created my next job, which was to improve their HR service, their website, essentially, to improve their intranet. So I created that job, which is a project role. And then after that, I saw another opportunity. Where they needed help with process optimization, which I had experience with. So I submitted a job description for this job, and I created that job, and I got put into that role. So I saw opportunities, and I just pitched, here's the job that I think you guys need. I could do it for you. And I was fortunate to be able to get those opportunities where they also were elevated in level. So they were confident in me to do the job, and the process by which they leveled the job turned out to be promotions for both of them. So it was that one train ride, it was like, maybe I'll try HR, because it felt like it was the place that really hit on all 3 cylinders. And it was right. It hit on all 3 cylinders. And I was able to graduate in level and responsibility there.
Well, the power of journaling. Wow.
Yeah, man. I mean, just getting clear on what your intentions are can really do wonders.
Yeah, and it's crazy just being in a a different environment, how that can spark new ideas,
Right.
to just getting out and exploring. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I highly encourage, like, people, I get when people love to, like, I just want to relax, I want to get away from everything, I want to escape. But you could also use that time to, like, just get clear, on
Yeah.
what's next. Yeah.
I love it. Um, I don't know if anybody has any particular questions about situational leadership, but I have a question just about leadership in general, your
Yeah.
background. When you started out as a leader, what do you wish you would have known going into the role?
That is absolutely not about you at all. Like, I think I, I mean, now I can see it so clearly. When someone becomes a new manager, like where their point of view is coming from. And I always, my biggest advice to anyone that's leading people for the first time is that this isn't about you. None of it is about you, right? When you become a manager of people, it is all about your team. If you're still thinking that, like, your objectives are more important than your team objectives, you're fail. That's a fail, in my opinion. If you decide to take that responsibility, you have to leave your ego at the door. You have to care more about the people that you're working with than anything. And you have to be their advocate, their cheerleader, their counselor, their coach, you just got to be there for them. Your objectives are their objectives, right? And I feel for managers who where their superior or their leadership team is giving them individual objectives outside of team objectives, like, because that happens in sales a lot. Like, you will have a sales target that is separate from your team sometimes, and it's just a recipe for disaster, because then your priorities are conflicted. You know what I mean? It's best when your objectives are your team's objectives. They are shared. And you're acting as one team together. So I think that is the biggest lesson. What I wish I would have known, like, immediately was, like, leave your ego at the door. This has nothing to do with you anymore. Yeah.
Expanding on that, when you went into your new teams, what is the way that you built trust with your teams?
Yeah. Okay. So hopefully maybe you're getting this vibe off of me, but I'm, like, just super transparent. Like, I will tell you stories of when I, for lack of a better term, shit the bed on something. Like, I'll tell you when, like, I did something horribly. I will tell you when I did something I was really good at. I will admit where I'm ignorant. I will say, like, yo, I don't know that. Let me go find someone who does. Like, I think being that open and transparent is super, super helpful. Because I believe in positive intent. I don't believe that people come into a professional environment to do dumb stuff. Like, I think they want to succeed, they want to be great. I think you'll find a few bad eggs, right? But then you manage that out. But 9 times out of 10, everyone comes with good intent. So by being vulnerable, by sharing your stories, I think that helps build trust. I'm also I have a medical condition, so sometimes, like, if something gets sometimes my health might preclude me from being available. So I let people know that on jump, right? I'm very transparent with sharing stuff like that, right? And because of that, I'm very in tune with others, like, where others have issues that they need to focus on outside of work, right? Work is not everything, it's just one thing. So I make that very, very clear in the beginning, that your family comes first, you come first, and work is an afterthought, right? We're here to collect a check. But so I just make it very, very clear that yeah, you're gonna get the same Yewande in every situation. I'm gonna be open, transparent, and share with me whatever you got. And I think it's been successful. Like, since leaving corporate America to start my businesses, I'm still in contact with, like, my last team. Like, I still have regular touch points with 12 of 14 of them, right? We still talk even, like, a year after me leaving the organization, and some of them have left, and I help them, get new jobs and give them referrals. And so I think, yeah, I'm good at building trust.
Right. Right. And what with yourself, like, what is the best leadership besides the training that you did? What's the best leadership advice that you've ever received?
Um, oh, this one of my friends, I guess, colleagues, friends, Jeff, he said, meet them where they're at. So when it comes to like setting expectations, you have to meet the person where they're currently at and build from there. You can't have this bar that can be unachievable for some people, right? So you have to meet the person where they're at and build from there. And so like say sometimes I've been in a situation once, which I could not avoid, where I was basically told to take on a new team member versus being able to hire them myself, right? And assess them myself. And that person I would never have hired myself ever. And so I had to essentially like meet them where they were and slowly build from there, and give them like realistic stretch goals to hit. But also, you know, compensate them fairly when it came to the year end. You know what I mean? So I just had to be very more intentional on how to make sure that you're meeting someone. Because I typically tend to hire like high flyers. I like to work with people who are incredibly aggressive. And when I'm not working with someone that's a high flyer, or say at this point in time in their career, they need to switch from being a high flyer to being more of like a stable type of slow pace. I need to switch my style because I typically like am more in the other direction. And so I just had to meet them where they're at. I remember I had in the pandemic, I had Christina, she had 3 kids under the age of 10. I think her oldest was 10. They were in 3 different schools with 3 different schedules of when they went to school, of hybrid, you know, versus in person versus online at home. So like her performance wasn't even like, she wasn't thinking about work at all, right? Which is absolutely normal. And so I adjusted her work schedule, where she could start work at like o'clock and go till 8, like because she just needed to get her kids like situated. And you know, so you have to meet people where they're at the time that they're in, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well, you said about hiring high flyers. Did you ever run into any issues with having a team full of high performing and not so stable?
No, I don't think so, because I think because I was my last company that was with Mars, people knew me like in that function. So when I was ready to build out my org or my team, people know how I work, right? So they, you know, I remember having one informational interview where the person flat out said, I don't know if I can work at the speed by which you do. And I was like, that's going to be a challenge. You know? And I'm just very honest with it, because I'm all about like identify and promote talent, right? And I've been very intentional about promoting female talent. I've been very intentional about recruiting in BIPOC associates. And people know that's my mission. So if they want to get on the bus or get on the train, then I'm more than happy to have you. But it's moving quickly, right? Like we're here for an objective. So I'm very transparent about that. And if someone is concerned about the workload before they even start working with me, it's not a good match. It's just not.
Yeah, you're lucky that they asked the question. That's a good thing to know beforehand.
Because they know that they'll know I'll suss it out. I'll ask them in the interview process. Like I'm not, like I have said to people, my concern is this. And so I put them on the spot to answer, you know? Yeah.
Great. Moving on to maybe a little more fun. One of the things at Bosstrack we work on is playlists for feeling empowered, feeling confidence when you're not feeling so confident. So I was curious if you have a song that you listen to when you need a little confidence or pick me up in the day.
It's probably not appropriate. Anyway, I listen to a lot of like I love listening to Jay-Z, Nas, Kanye whenever I need like an energizer. There's a song, Jay-Z and Cudi, I think. Is it Jay-Z and Kid Cudi? No, I think it's yeah, it is Jay-Z and Kid Cudi. It's called Already Home. I love that song. It's off of Blueprint 3. That one like gets me like, all right, let's do this. It's a game changer for me when I need some motivation. I also used to listen to a lot of Rick Ross when I was driving the streets of New Jersey and New York, and he would get me really going when I had sales meetings. So yeah, I listen to like hip hop, like heavy hip hop, whenever I need that, like, boost. Yeah.
Got it. Great. And then I know you probably are working from your home office quite a bit, but do you have like a favorite wardrobe staple, even if it's slippers or pajama bottoms?
Do I? I actually was thinking about like I haven't been in a mall in like years.
Jeez.
But like, but I do some online shopping sometimes, but my clothing budget is like nothing now.
Mhm.
But what do I wear a lot? I like to wear like video calls. I don't know if I'm just insecure about this, but like I feel like you can't see my neck on video calls. So I always wear like these crew necks just to like accentuate that I have a neck.
Oh my gosh.
Sounds weird, but it's the truth. So I wear a lot of these like crew neck yeah, sweaters and shirts and tops all the time. And I got these thermal ones from Everlane, and they are
Mm.
amazing. I love them. They don't like, even when you wash them, they don't like distort, So I have these like in 8 colors.
It looks comfortable.
Yeah, I enjoy it thoroughly.
Well, great. So does anybody have any questions? It's a great opportunity. Situational leadership is so important, especially, something to really get familiar with as you're starting out as a newer leader. And I wanted to open it up to anybody who had any questions.
I think I see one in the chat. Should I read this one?
Yes, definitely.
I recently learned about how leaders who are honest about their ambivalence tend to be more effective and earn trust. However, it also causes people to feel like leaders who express ambivalence are less confident and confident because indecisiveness can be viewed as less intelligent. Do you have thoughts, experiences about this economy? Yeah, lots of thoughts about this. I think this is a great question, Molly, because I feel like a lot of leaders feel like they need to walk this tight rope of showing like that they're authoritative versus showing that they are nurturing. And I think like, especially between male and female leaders, I think male leaders tend to feel like they need to be more authoritative while female leaders need to be nurturing. I feel like you can be both, right? You can share and be vulnerable and share what worked and what didn't work for you and share your weaknesses, at the same time expect something from others, right? And set clear expectations. And so the way I balance that is whenever someone's working with me, like I like to document. I write down objectives. They will always have a document of what my expectations are, right? And in our one-on-ones, while we are very like conversational and fluid and open to talking, like they know I'm ticking off every single objective, right? Like they know what to expect in our one-on-ones. So it's like a balance of both, right? Where they can come to me with anything, and they also know that I hold them accountable every quarter at the end of the year for what they're supposed to deliver. And I think the only time where it becomes like challenging is there's 2 situations. One is when you are representing a decision made by your organization that is in conflict with you, right? So I've been in a situation where I was expected to lead a project that I did not believe in, period, right? Very difficult to do, but I chose to show transparency. I chose to be my true authentic self and explain to my team what I thought was challenging about this project, explain to them why we were going to do it, right? Even though I didn't want to at all. Explain to them why they were going to do it, and then set expectations moving forward, right? So I was able to still be open, still be transparent, but still set expectations, right? And they appreciated it because they knew they were going to walk into something that was going to be really frustrating and really challenging, and something that they also didn't truly believe in, right? So I just set the stage early on for us to have open dialogue about it. And I think it continues to build trust. I mean, trust erodes when your words don't match your actions, you know? I've lost trust in senior leaders where they made decisions that were completely in conflict with the words that they were saying to their people. You know what I mean? And that's the burden of when you become like a director, vice president, you go up those levels, you have to be the talking head for your organization. If you don't believe in it, it's a hard place to be in, you know? So that was one of the reasons why I didn't want to pursue a director track at my previous employer, is because the direction they were going and I didn't believe in, you know? And I wasn't going to be able to lead teams and lead organizations and still be my authentic, transparent self in that type of position. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. That's definitely hard as a leader, especially as you move up and when you don't believe in what everybody's, you know, what the mission is.
Yeah,
You
you
really,
can't drink the Kool-Aid.
yeah, you've got to make a big decision when that happens. It
Yeah,
looks like we have another question. Jen
great.
asked, do you have advice for leading a team member in a different generation than yourself, older or younger? I love this question.
Great question, Jen. Yes, I have. I actually, when I was running the New York City region, our market kind of switched. Like typically in the sales region, your market will change like every year or two, you know, just based off of like new stores openings, things like that. And so my market changed. And so I inherited an associate. His name was Dave. Love Dave. Um, he was in his early 60s. He was like a few years from retiring, but I guarantee you Dave is still working right now. Like he would always say, I'm just a couple years from retiring, and he never retired. But he was with the Mars organization for over 30 years. Like I was his like 15th manager, you know what I mean? He had been in the same role as like a sales representative in his market for decades, you know what I mean? So I remember when I first had a one-on-one with Dave, I go, Dave, what's your goal? Like, what do you want to do here? Like, do you want me to just leave you alone? Do you want me to, like, what do you want me to do? And I was just very interested. I had no clue. This is my first time being in this situation. So I just admitted, you know, how should we work together? And the great thing about Dave was like, he goes, I love to learn. Like I'm a learner. Like I stay in this job because it's always changing all the time. My market is always growing. I'm having new customers come in all the time. I get to interact with new people constantly. So like, that's what I crave, is like new experiences and learning new things. So I was like, match in heaven, you know what I mean? And so he was like very game for anything. He wanted to show up for the newbies that were coming in like straight out of college. I remember I hired what was his name? Rich. I hired Rich straight out of college, and I matched Rich and Dave together because their territories were right next to each other. And they had a great week together. Like super enjoyed it. They were just BFFs from that point on. And Rich is like in his mid-20s. He was straight out of college. I guess he was a couple years out of college. And you know, Dave is in his early 60s, but they got along like amazingly. And so I just constantly gave Dave like new responsibilities. Whenever we had like a new store opening, sometimes because we were in New Jersey and the Mars headquarters is also in New Jersey, when you have a new store opening, it's like a big deal. And so Dave did like all new store openings, you know, something different every, you know, couple months. And so it was like, that was the way where I was able to kind of really meet Dave where he was at. He just wanted new stuff to do all the time. And then on the flip side, I think my hardest job was managing folks that were straight out of college. Like that is probably the most challenging development role that I'm in, because you don't really know what you're getting. You know what I mean? It's very hard to assess through an interview process for someone who doesn't have a lot of work experience. It's hard to assess like how well they do or how well of a fit they will be. It's great if they're an intern because it's almost like a trial run. But if you have to hire directly out of college, that is a hard place to be. And that was like the hardest thing for me to get right during my sales tenure. I hired 3. I think one was great. You know what I mean? So I think that that's a little more difficult. And then again, you just have the hard thing with folks that are right out of college is because they don't know what they want, it's hard to give them what they need, you know? So I find that you have to spend a lot more time really getting to their truth of what they really want for themselves and for their career versus what people are telling them they should do or what they're reading they should do. What is their truth? I think you spend more time there with someone who is less tenured, I guess. Does that resonate with you, Michelle?
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose if you're looking at the situational leadership, you're probably in more of a directive role with them more often than not, at least for.
Yeah, yeah. But they eat that up, you know what I mean? Because they just want to know that they can do this. They're so happy to just be getting paid, you know, as much as they're getting paid. They just want to make sure that they're not going to get fired. I mean, that was the vibe that I got. I mean, but again, it was very much an entry level sales job that they were coming into. And so, yeah, they ate up the directive type. And then once they got past that, then you knew that, okay, we got something here. But sometimes folks don't get past that. And you had to start to think about, should you be managing them out, you know?
Yeah, I was going to ask you with the two college students or right out of college that didn't work out, how did you handle that?
Yeah, well, okay. So one of them, actually, I didn't have to handle one of the situations. He essentially falsified. So within a sales team, the worst thing you could possibly do is lie, like about what your revenue is and things of that nature, to submit false reports. So that was an easy out, right? You literally broke the one cardinal rule in sales. It's like, don't lie. And so that was done. But that hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, why would you do that? Especially when I told you 100 times, the only thing that will get you out of here is if you lie, you know, when people have different, you know, that happens. And then the other one, Nick, he was very, his, how do I say this? His confidence didn't match his capability. So he was very overconfident with what he could do, but he never showed the results. So like I had to like show him, like, based on what you're saying, you should be tracking here. You are tracking here, right? So like it's hard to get people to like see the truth sometimes, especially like in if you're early in, you feel like you need to walk in with like, I know what I'm doing, I blah, 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 blah. And, you know, if you're overly confident, you're not willing to accept coaching and you're not willing to like accept the truth of your performance, then it's time to like manage you out. Like, you know what I mean? The tricky part of managing people out is like their performance has to be at a certain standard, unacceptable standard, right? Or they're not showing improvement over a period of time. So it takes time to manage someone out. But it's in my experience, I find that like those with less tenure sometimes will come in with this false confidence, like you haven't done the work, like it's not showing up for you. So, and I'm very direct. So you're gonna get what you give. And if someone is, yeah, that was difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I tried to. And plus he wanted to find other jobs. I'm like, you're not ready for any of that. Those conversations are best to be done very directly, because if they're getting like wishy-washy messages from you, they'll start talking to other people and it just gets crazy. So you gotta be very direct when you have someone who's looking in a mirror that's showing them an image that isn't reality.
Yeah, I agree. Being direct and being honest, and usually, I mean, from what I found, when you have the right conversations, they start to get it and start to manage themselves out as well. You know, looking for other
opportunities
where else they need to be.
Yeah,
but it's always nice when you can see their strengths and help direct them and guide them on where, you know, what they should be looking for as well.
oh, absolutely. I mean, I've had maybe 2 difficult experiences for all the teams and projects and that I've managed. The vast majority, 98%, are just amazing, and
Mhm.
people really want to learn and grow and be coached and be developed and are just game for someone who would give them the time. I think that's the big thing with managers is like, you got to put yourself away and really give the time to the people that you're supporting and you're leading. And if you're not capable of doing that, you should really be second guessing whether you should be managing others, Yeah.
Great. Well, I see it's 5 minutes away from the hour, and I want to, thank you for all the great information
Yeah.
that you've given us. Is there anything you wanted to kind of leave us with as we close this out?
I am available to chat anytime. You can find me at Meet Your COO on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn with my long name. You can find me at, I just started like a web design studio called ShadowNut. So shadownut.studio. If you're looking for web services, I really love websites. I don't know why, just a new hobby that I'm like, I like doing this. Why not? And so, yeah, you can find me anywhere. I'm game to talk more. If you need specific advice, I'm available. Yeah, just happy to be here and happy to be connecting with you guys. And anytime you need me, hit me up.
Perfect. Well, thank you. And I wanted to let everybody know that we will have this available for replay. If you have anybody that you think could benefit or would be interested in hearing it, I will be sending out a notice and you'll know when it's out there. So I would love for you to share with whoever you think, and really appreciate you joining us here for our second Bosscast for Bosstrack, and looking forward to many more. And thank you, Yewande, so much. It was really
Thank
nice
you,
talking to
Michelle, for
you.
inviting me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.